Hey everyone, it's RicklePick41. Thanks for tuning in to the stream, whether you're watching it live or after the fact. Just want to give you a tour of our main base on Ragnarok. We did start on Aberration. This is the second server we're on, and you'll notice that in certain places. But yeah, I just want to give you a tour of what we got going on. Alright, so we'll start here, and this is my room in the base. You'll see here we have a couple glow pets. These are one of 4 from Aberration. These are called glow tails. They pretty much just light up the room. Very handy on Aberration. If you've never played, it's a mostly underground map. There's a couple areas that are above ground that are also very deadly, but it's mostly underground. They're very handy in any other map as well, though, as they light up at nighttime, so you don't need a torch. And they help if you're doing a cave or on the Ragnarok. They also help with the labyrinth. This is Goat. He's the second of 4. This is a Shinehorn. This is the one I mainly use, so I'm going to take him with me. This is a nice little view out of my window. Got, I've painted the room. We have some pictures. You can get pictures. You have to have a camera, a canvas, and then you have to have the paint for the pictures. They're very hard to see, but these are some of the other bases we have around this map. This is my personal vault. It has certain items in it that I'm not necessarily using now, but I will be using for different events throughout the game. Alright, so let's take a tour of the rest of the base. You'll come out here. This is, it's one of the middle floors. It's hard to say which is which. We'll just go with the middle floor. Here we have some raptors. They're aberrant raptors, which are exactly the same as regular raptors. They just have different color schemes, as any aberrant dinosaur does. And they partially glow up in the dark, like the red tips on these ones will be what glows in the dark. We just brought them from Aberration with us because they're cool and you can't get them here. That's pretty much it. Over here you'll see we have 2 aberrant Homo Scorpius. The white stripes on the claws would be what glow for them. Again, just creatures or animals we brought from Aberration. Come out here, we have Tappy Gilmore, a Tapajara. It took me a long time, surprisingly, to find a Tapajara on this map. So once I did, I found it, but I like the Tapajara so much because as far as I'm aware, it's the only flyer that is a 3-seater, unless you have a pretzel and a platform saddle. So they do come in very handy. They're also very maneuverable. And here we have a Lymantria, which aren't the best flying tames, but they do have this special feature. If you use the action button, you'll notice it drops that green dust. Cloud of dust. That, for a wild dino, will slow them down immensely. So if you're trying to tame a wild dino and you drop that down when it's running away because it's almost knocked out, it'll be a lot easier to hit with projectiles or arrows. So that comes very handy. This right here, the Peligornis, I really just have it just to have because we're trying to eventually get all of the tames on the map. But it's not that great of a flyer, if I'm being completely honest. We'll go down to the bottom level. Look at a little view first. This is kind of what we're working with. It does have a good view to it. This is a bulldog. This is the 3rd of the 4 glow pets in Aberration. We brought a mating pair of each so we can bring them with us, and if one dies, well, we can just breed another one. Comes in very handy. And these are some Sarcos. We just leave them up here because we really don't utilize this space yet. They are aberrant Sarcos, which, like I said before, just gives them a slightly different color pattern and they slightly glow in the dark. So we're going to way up to the next floor. And we're going to go right to the right. You'll see another Featherlight. A couple more Shinehorns. This is a Jerboa. This, on this particular map, is not that great, but a Jerboa will start making noises to predict storm. So on certain other maps, it comes in very handy. These are a shoulder pet as well, so you can carry that around with you. Then we'll go in here. This is our garden area. Our first 3 plots are narco berries, obviously for narcotics, but the second 3 are for tinto berries. Tinto berries are great for making health brew, so farming them is very handy. You will, once you start doing caves and on Ragnarok, the labyrinth, health brews come in very handy because you fight a lot of things and you do a lot of jumps and you take large amounts of damage. Let's continue with crops. This is sabo root, rock carrot, long grass, and citronal. Citronal is great for making bug repellent, so when you are doing caves, they come in very handy because it'll keep you from having to fight a lot of creatures unnecessarily. And these three are great for making kibbles and also for making sweet veggie cake, which is what these little guys need, the acatina. I highly recommend making that so you can tame some acatina. Here, they create acatina paste, which is the same exact thing as cementing paste. And late game, you use cementing paste for a lot of things. So having them to make it, very, very valuable. You no longer have to raid beaver dams or craft cementing paste by using chitin and rock. It can take a long time. As you'll notice, they stack up to 100 before they stop making it. Having 5 every so often, I have an extra 500 with cementing paste, which is fantastic. Come out here. Compost bins to make fertilizer for the crops. We have a box with seed. It has fiber in it. Just things that we'll need for either making recipes or using in the garden. Here you have 2 glowtail, and the glowtail is the 4th and final of the glow pets from Aberration. As I said before, we did bring a mating pair of each. This bad boy here is a Ravager. These are dogs on Aberration. They usually roam in packs, and they can be quite a pain, but once you tame them, they are very, very useful, as they can climb zip lines. As there's no flyers on Aberration, climbing zip lines is very handy, and they have the weight of almost anything you put inside of them, which is, I don't have to tell you, huge in this game. Next we have our cooking areas, a cooking pot, which we really don't use anymore, an industrial cooker, and I tend to keep all my recipes in there. That way when I'm making something I don't have to look it up later on, and it's very useful, honestly. We have that there. We ran water all the way up to where we're at, and I'll go back in the garden and show you what I mean. But if you place them just right, you can place an industrial cooker and a beer barrel on the same source of water, which saves quite a bit of time. There's not much purpose behind a beer barrel other than just to have it, but it's fun to have. Alright, now let me show you what I meant by all the way up there. We tapped into water all the way down in that stream down there. It did take quite a while, and it was a pain, but it's well worth having water up where we're at. Cliff platforms to build where we're at, which cliff platforms are an Ingram only in Aberration, but where we build on Ragnarok is also a spawn point for Gigas, and if you know anything about Gigas, they can destroy a rock. So being high up was a very, very good thing to have in the beginning. Here you'll see our vault room, which we have kind of decorated with artifacts that we've gotten on the outside along the way. We will eventually build out to here with those artifact pedestals, but either way, here's another view from this side of where we're at. That's our pen down stairs where we have most of our tames. I'll give you a quick tour of the vault room. So we have different vaults for different things, some we're not even using. This is the armory, which we keep the things we need to make different ammos and weapons. It's a little light at the moment because we've recently created or crafted quite a few weapons and ammo. Wooden thatch, hide and pelt, chitin. We have one for miscellaneous resources. Just kind of go through just enough so we can really load them up. Now this one, pearls, is a big one I'd like to talk about because there's 2 different areas on the map. One where you can get a bunch of black pearls and one where you can get a bunch of silica pearls. And I will do a stream in the future on where to get each. You can get thousands of silica pearls in this one area, and the other one, this is about half of the black pearls that we crafted with the rest of them. But if you've tried to get black pearls, you realize that's quite a large amount. Alright, we do have our trophy vault. It has different trophies in here. You do need trophies to enter the boss fights. And also certain trophies like the Deathworm Horn you need to tame the Mantis, which we do have a few of. You'll come over here, you'll see we have a few Archaeopteryx. These are very useful tames to have on Ragnarok, mainly for the Labyrinth. There's a lot of jumping in the Labyrinth. That is a huge pain. The Archaeopteryx, if you have them on your shoulder, because they are a shoulder pet, well, more so you hold them above your head. They help you glide long distances, and you can bypass a lot of those nasty jumps. If we walk down here, we come into our main crafting area. We have a smithy, which pretty much everyone knows where the smithy is. It's your first crafting bench of sorts. And the refining forge. The refining forge we only use for gasoline now, which if you put that generator electric. We do not use this cooking pot. It's still there. Fabricator, which is the step up from the smithy, and then this. This right here will save you so much time in the game. It is the Forge. It refines metal at a much higher rate than the standard refining forge does. And also, if you need charcoal, you can put wood in here and get charcoal very quickly as well, which comes in huge when you're making gunpowder and weapons. So this will make your life much easier. The other thing that'll make your life equally as much easier is the Chem Bench. The Chem Bench can craft anything the mortar pestle does, but way faster and much more efficiently. It also doesn't craft one, it crafts them in mini stacks. You get these two, they are a huge amount of resources, but they will make your life so much easier. Here we have the industrial grill. Nothing's cooking in it, it's just gasoline burning off. I did cook some earlier. We have 4 refrigerators, which may seem excessive, but we have a lot of tanks. One, we have miscellaneous stuff, biotoxin, sweet veggie cake, crops, health brew, jerky. It's just kind of random things. I do have some wyvern eggs in here as well, some soups. This is mainly mutton, fish prime, and regular prime meats. When we're going to tame big carnivores, we'll use that meat, obviously, other than kibble. Cooked mutton is the best thing you can have for anything that will eat regular meat. Certain carnivores will eat fish meat, which is why we have a refrigerator solely for fish meat. This one's for everything else, and we still do have a preserving bin because it still has its uses. One crafts jerky with oil, spark powder, and either prime meat or regular meat, depending on the jerky you're trying to craft. But if you are crafting jerky, keep an eye on your spark powder, as it also uses spark powder, and you can run out quickly. That has happened to us. Also with a preserving bin, certain things like leech blood and lesser antidote cannot be stored in a refrigerator, so having a preserving bin to store them in is to prolong the time. Here we have a vessel, which I looked over until recently. It actually has a huge use. So for preserving salts, inside of this, as you see, will last 800 days, 15 hours, and 53 minutes. Now notice the time goes down when I put it in my own inventory. It goes down to 22 minutes and 58 seconds. It's a very huge difference. Preserving salt, if you have it on you in a tame or in a preserving bin, will make your meat or consumables last even longer. Come over here, we have a cryo fridge, which if you store cryopods in will make them last much longer. All of our cryopods are here. I have tames in them. We are building a labyrinth in the desert for people on our server to eventually run, and these are the tames we're going to put inside of it for them to fight. But you'll notice the time, the 29 days, 17 hours here in the bottom left corner, that is the spoil time on a cryopod, and it will eventually go away, which they don't take a lot of resources to make, but you really don't want to lose things. So if you put them back in the cryo fridge, it will bring them back to 30 days. kind of resets that spoil time if you leave them in there long enough. This right here is Whitey025, aka Doom, my partner in crime. He is the one that helped me build all of this. He also was on me in the Aberration server where we brought the cliff platforms over, the globe pads, Ravagers, a few other things. He's helped along the way. This right here is an industrial grinder. We have it just to have it, to be honest. You can put extra items you either make or get in loot drops, and you can pretty much decraft them in a sense, and you'll get a portion of the materials it takes to make them. We really don't use it that often. We more use these 2 volts. And you're probably wondering why there's 2 volts here when we have our whole room full of volts. Well, these are not crafting materials. We have different items that we've gotten in drops, or different items we've crafted that we're just not using at the moment. We leave them in here. That way if we get a tame later on, we may come in here, we may have a saddle already made for them, or if someone joins our tribe in our server, maybe they need this journeyman metal pick. So it comes in handy. We also have, these are the stone platforms, cliff platforms, that you can only make on Aberration. This one is for blueprints. We have only blueprints in here, and this way if we get a tame and we didn't have a saddle already made, well look, if we got a Megalosaurus, we have a saddle here for it, we have an Ascendant, we have them for quite a few different things, so we can actually craft it. Same with weapons and armor. So those come in handy, and we'll take you up. Instead of using the stairs, which we do have, we recently finished this elevator, so I'm gonna take you in this bad boy. On this floor, there's not that much going on. We haven't utilized much of it yet. It's a very big base. But we have 3 griffins. Peter and Zeus are mine. Hades is Doom's. We have that staircase that goes up to the very top. This is a door, so we can let flyers in from this direction. We also have this opening right there for flyers as well. This is Doom's room. It's not quite finished yet, but we have had a lot going on, so he hasn't had much time to do it. But here's another bit of that view. As you'll notice, we are right above our garden area. Alright, now let's go up to the top. This is where our prized possessions are. Our main flyers, our more rare flyers, are up here. They're also very large, which is why we keep them on the upper floor. Elevators, by the way, take a lot of resources to make, but I highly recommend it, especially if you have a very high base, because they make transporting materials your tame may have had way easier. Alright. Good thing I have a gliding suit. Those wings you can also only get on Aberration, but they come in very handy. If you do run Aberration, I recommend building extras and bringing them with you. They are pretty much a skin that you add on to any armor. So any armor you have, you can then have a wingsuit on it. So here we have 2 rock drakes. These are Aberration only creatures. They are very handy on Aberration as there are no flyers. They are pretty much the flyer of Aberration. They can climb any surface and they glide for a fairly decent amount of time. So they're very handy. However, they are a very big pain to get and to raise from egg, because as wyverns you can only raise them from an egg. You cannot tame them. I do plan on doing a video and stream in the future on how to tame these once we run back into the Aberration server. We also have, as you'll see, 2 lightning wyverns. The lightning wyverns are also a very big pain to get, as you have to go into a wyvern den. Once you go into the wyvern den, you have to live long enough to find a wyvern egg. And then once you grab the wyvern egg, every wyvern in the area then tries to murder you. If you thought it was done there, it's not. Because in order to raise the baby wyvern, you need wyvern milk. And the best way we found to get the milk is to trap a wild wyvern and knock it unconscious, and then get the milk from it. And you generally have to do this with 3 to 4 wyverns to raise one baby wyvern, so quite the pain. And then we have our quets with the platform saddle. This is our rock elemental tamer, I like to call it, Miss Frizzle. It has 2 cannons on the side, so you can hit the rock elemental in the head and knock it unconscious. It's the only way you can knock it out to tame it. We have bunk beds so we can respawn, and then up top for other tames we have a ballista turret that'll spin 360 with chain bolas on it, so we can subdue larger animals that you normally won't be able to subdue with a regular bola. And let me kind of give you a 360 view. As I said, this is where Gigas spawn on Ragnarok, so we wanted to be high up. We are that high up. And a Giga did spawn, so it's a good thing we did that. We ended up taming that Giga, but if you know anything about Gigas, they can destroy stone, so we would have been doomed. We also have a zip line going to the base there because the Ravagers, as I said before, can climb the zip line, so Ravagers in and out for harvesting. This is the watering line we ran all the way up. It doesn't look pretty, but it does the trick, and the only way we were able to do that is with the flexible piping. A lot easier to work with. I highly recommend if you're trying to put water sources up high to use the flexible piping. Let's take a look in our pen where most of our tames are. Start over here. You'll notice we have a bee's nest in there, and you might wonder how we have a bee's nest in there. Well, you can tame a queen bee. If anyone's interested in how to tame a queen bee, I will do a separate stream on that. Just reach out. Once you have the beehive, if you put rare flour in that, they will produce honey. And that is huge because sweet veggie cake and certain kibbles take honey to make, so having it right at your base is very, very handy. Here we have a Therazino, which is great at harvesting wood and thatch. Once you get one, there's really no need to harvest it yourself anymore because they harvest at very high rates. A Megatherium harvests chitin at very high rates as well. So those are great for chitin if you're in need of that for cementing paste or any other reason you might need that. We have 3 Uteranus here. This one was actually raised from egg. It took 3+ hours to raise that from an egg. So if you ever try to raise a Uteranus, I highly recommend you raise more than one to make it worth it. Here you will see we have a woolly rhino and a mammoth. And another mammoth back there. We have them because on Ragnarok the main boss does extra damage to carnivores. So we are trying to get an herbivore army to better our odds at beating the main boss on Alpha. Here we have a couple Allosaurs, mainly because we're trying to get every tame in the game. They're a little bit smaller and more maneuverable than a Rex, so that's also helpful. Notice to keep the unfertilized eggs. You can make kibbles out of the fertilized eggs, but if they're dropping unfertilized, you might as well just use that. Here we have a unicorn. There's only one unicorn on a map, so this is the only unicorn on the map. It's pretty much a horse, it's just a cool tame to have. Here are Thylacolios. If you've ever been in the redwoods flying below the tree line, you may know these things. They will jump out, knock you off your tame, and eat. And then you have to respawn at whatever bed is nearby and try to find your flyer. They suck, but they are great tames to have because they can climb and they are just monsters. Here you have 2 terror birds, the bane of everyone's existence when they first start in the game if they are nearby, but we have them just to have them. Here we have a bear. These pack a lot of punch for their size. They're great to have, and they also, if you don't have your own beehive, are the only tame that can harvest honey, and they also don't get swarmed by bees, and neither do you while you're using it. Remember how I said a Giga spawned here before? Well, this is him. This is that monster, aka the Big Lebowski. He would have destroyed everything we owned if we weren't all the way up there. Titan boa, which you have to tame with fertilized eggs. The best way is to drop them from the sky. Here, Thorny Dragon. We just recently tamed it, so I haven't had a lot of experience using it yet, so I don't know the ins and outs. A Carno, and then we have Mantises. I will show you one of the coolest things about a Mantis. Let me put that in its inventory. You can put items on a Mantis, so then you could have it attack with 2 spears. It's pretty insane and awesome. Over here we have 2 Baryonyx. We do try to have a mating pair of everything. These will only eat fish meat, as with the Peligornis and the Capricicus over here, if I am pronouncing that right. Mating pair of those as well. These things suck in the swamp. They're not the greatest tames to have, but if you are in the swamp and a wild one is near you, they will lunge at you and pin you down similar to a raptor and eat you. Here we have our Rexes. The Metal Rex, or Tech Rex, is the same as any other Rex as any metal creature is. Taming it's the same, but you cannot breed with them, which I found out recently. Then we have our Sabertooth. Oh, we have another Uteranus egg. Let's pick that up. Uteranus have eggs that allow you to make exceptional kibble. It's pretty nice. It's the best kibble you can make. So over here, that over there is a taming pen we used to use. Now anymore we generally tame animals out in the wilderness, but before we used to bring them back to that pen over there, drop them in, and hit them with trank darts from the outside. This used to be our Ovis pen. I think it used to be because somehow they were escaping through the cracks. Doesn't make much sense, but they were, so we built the pen right next to them. This right now we're keeping the tames in that we plan on bringing to the labyrinth we're building, along with the ones I have here. These are just some extras that we'll have to bring over. Oh, I didn't show, but in that main pen over there, we did have an Anki, and if you're not familiar with the Anki, it harvests metal at an insane rate, and it decreases the weight of it, so once you get one of those, you will never harvest metal by hand again. The Doedicurus, which is at the labyrinth that we're building, is great at harvesting stone and flint, and also reduces the weight of both as well. So those are great tames to have so you can build your main base with ease. Ovis pen. Ovis are a pain because they always seem to glitch through the floors and the walls, and you'll have to get a cryopod it, and then drop it back at the surface. But I like to let them roam, because I don't have to constantly feed them. I can just put meat in the trough, and they'll eat that. These are great because you can get a pair of scissors, and you can shear off the wool, which is the same as pelt, and that's fantastic because, as you know, until you can start taking down woolly rhinos and woolly mammoths, you don't get a lot of wool from pretty much anything. And you already need wool clothing to get them, or you will freeze to death. So these are great to have. I have them on breed. When I have babies, I just let them die eventually, which sounds terrible, but then you harvest them and you get a lot of pelt. You also get a lot of raw mutton and prime meat. So all around, very great game. That's pretty much it. That's our main base. We do have several others that I'll probably do streams on at a later date. We have a ship. We have a tree base in the desert with a tree platform. We have a couple smaller bases in Arctic regions, and then in the desert I will definitely be doing a stream of the labyrinth we're building. Of the smaller places we have around there, probably in the same video. But yeah, that's the base so far. If you have questions on anything, or there's anything you've seen that you'd like to know how to tame or build or craft, just reach out and I will gladly do another stream on that. But thank you for watching. Again, this is RicklePick41. I hope you have a great day.